My name is Larry Frye. I've lived in Green Bay since 1980. I run the String Instrument Workshop, which is a store that specializes in repair, restoration, and sales of string instruments. And for all of the time that I've lived in Green Bay, I've played in either the Green Bay Symphony or the Civic Symphony of Green Bay.
Okay. Why don't you just tell me about the Civic Symphony and how it started, the very, very beginning.
The Civic Symphony came about as a result of a decision that was made by the board of directors of the Green Bay Symphony to change from a community orchestra model to regional professional orchestra. And that was the attempt there. The change was made to improve the artistic quality of the orchestra. As a result, many of the local players who'd played for years and years with the Green Bay Symphony were no longer a part of the orchestra. They were not asked back, or they did not pass the audition that the GBSO required. And so we felt that there was enough players around that we would investigate seeing if we could start a community orchestra to replace that performance opportunity that was lost when GBSO changed.
So who are some of the key players in that, let's get together and make a new orchestra?
Sure. Jerry Matern, of course, was very instrumental in getting things started. He had already put together a community university orchestra at St. Norbert's. Don Poe, who ran a piano shop for 50 years in Green Bay, was very supportive of the idea and actually helped with a bunch of seed money, or a little bit of seed money to help get us going. We started out with absolutely nothing. There were a number of leaders from the community that played in the orchestra that all pitched in and really worked hard. We had lawyers, we had that helped write up the bylaws. We had people who were teachers who helped recruit people. We had people who were involved in the music industry, and just everybody came together to try to contribute what they could do to get this orchestra off the ground. And we were wonderfully naively ignorant about what it took to get an orchestra going. And
how long did it take from the not making the Green Bay Symphony to performing the first concert?
Our organizing efforts started in late summer, early fall.
Okay.
And the ad hoc board of directors that we put together met weekly for hours each week, trying to plan to see what we could do. And there was just so many details that we had to cover. None of us had ever produced a concert before. We were just the musicians, and we'd show up and somebody else was making sure that there was a conductor there. Somebody else had made sure that there was a rehearsal and performance venues. Somebody else had made sure that music was coming. So we had to all of a sudden figure out how we were going to do all of this on our own. And eventually we got our first concert underway the following January. And it was a really exciting time period to see that first concert and to actually see people coming into the auditorium, and an audience was there, and we actually played music, and it was we were all pretty heady and not realizing that there was an awful lot that we still had to go through.
Where was that first concert?
The first concert was held at West High School,
okay.
Which was for many years the Performing Arts Center in Green Bay. It's a beautiful auditorium with superb acoustics, quite a big house, and it worked out quite well for us. Eventually we discovered that it was getting very difficult to work with the school, because the school, of course, had priority over scheduling, and we ran into many difficulties in terms of trying to make sure that we were able to reserve the facilities for our rehearsals and for the concert. And so after a while we ended up moving around to a number of different venues until we finally settled on the Meyer.
Okay. And how many people were in that first orchestra at the first concert?
It's hard to remember exactly how many there were, but I'm sure we had an orchestra of about somewhere between 60 and 75.
Wow.
And it was a good-sized group.
So there were a lot of musicians that wanted to play.
There were a lot of people. It was, initially we approached the whole thing as a performance opportunity for musicians who were, as you might say, musically homeless. And eventually we realized that not only was it a place for the musicians, but we also had to consider the audience. There was a whole group of people who wanted to see community members making music and affordably, being able to go to concerts, and they wanted to see people that they actually knew playing.
How many people roughly were in that first audience?
I would say we had one of our better houses at that point. I would say close to 700.
Wow.
It was pretty highly publicized, and then of course shortly after that, attendance dropped down, after the shine wears off a little bit, but we've had fairly consistent audiences throughout the years. It's gone up, it's gone down, but I think it's trending in the right direction right now.
Okay. Anything else you can think to add as far as the founding members or the beginning of the Civic Symphony? How did you settle on the name, I guess, is a question I had.
With all the board meetings that we had, we wanted to find a name that would indicate that we were local, that we were part of the community. We also wanted to be able to differentiate from the Green Bay Symphony, because we had a very different mission, a very different focus of our group. And over lots and lots of discussions, we ended up with the Civic Symphony of Green Bay. And we had people donate time to design a logo. There were just so many details, so many hours and hours and hours of passion went into the founding of this group.
Was it all worth it?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's nothing that is more thrilling than sitting down with a group of 60 to 75 people and making music together. It's a wonderful shared nonverbal communication between not only the players, but the players and the audience. That you have to live it to really fully appreciate how wonderful an experience that is.